Hi again. This is Charles LeBlanc, and you're watching Real People with Real Answers. And the reason why we call this show this is it's a For God production by Friends of Justice. We call it this because we're looking for answers for today's society. Society is really being stressed by the problems that it's faced with. Economic problems. Go, Andre.
All right, so today we're really going to be concentrating is about something called MERS scandal. MERS stands for Mortgage Electronic Registration System. And all of you listeners who never had to deal with bankers on any of these issues, on special forbearance, repayment plans, modifications, short refinance, short sales, cash for keys, deed in lieu foreclosures, or any foreclosures at all, especially here in Michigan, all the foreclosures are being voided, especially down through MERS. So if you had your house bought and then later on you received the voucher which you have to pay to somebody else, that's an indication that your case could be won in courts, and you need to start really paying attention, because I'm going to get into the little short history of what the MERS scandal is all about. And this is probably going to be the most shocking news to you at all. So let me start with the things what's in the Bible. There was a story in the Bible where the king wants to settle with his servants. And to him was brought a servant, and he owned 10,000 denarii. And pretty much king ordered to sell his house, his wives, his daughters, his everything to pay the debt. But the servant fell and started asking king to cancel his debt. That's a key word, cancel his debt. And king fell prostrate, and he actually canceled his debt.
Okay.
So then the servant came out of the courtroom, and he saw his fellow servant who owes him 10 denarii. He goes and started choking him and took him to jailers and make him pay all this little stuff. But then another fellow servant saw what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and all of a sudden he goes and tells the masters, and the masters came and told the king what just happened. And then the king brought up the servant in front of him again, and because he done so wickedly, and you'll see it on the bottom of our screen, the whole verse, he was made to repay the whole debt again. So let me tell you how it's exactly to the point it's happened in my life. So as we know, there is a lot of terminology in the Bible. Servants, maiden servants, the kings. So if we'll live, let's say, in our country, United States, and we'll go by these rules, who is our king, let's say? Let's pretend it's a president of Obama. Let's say like a king.
Okay. Like
the servants, who would be the servants? Is agencies.
Right.
Okay. Bankers.
That's right, because they
banks
work for him, right?
Is the agencies. So there is all of a sudden the bankers who got bailed out in 2008, didn't they?
They
got
did.
$700 billion.
$800 billion.
And we'll get into it where the money came from.
Yeah.
So you ask me that question later on.
Yeah.
So then they were canceled, all their pretty much fraud they've done, and they were supposed to be good to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, what they have done, they lied to you, they told you to modify your loan, then they kicked you out of the house, they broke into your house, they intimidate you any kind of ways to leave your house, thinking you're a bad person who can't pay the bills. In reality, all they've done is just trying to cover up their fraud, because all they do, their father is his accuser. All they do is just accuse you of certain things, and we, not knowing what's going on, we feel bad, like we didn't pay the note. In reality, where they did not even. Let me get on this. So now, the MERS. Where did the MERS came up? MERS was originated by the Countrywide in 1995, and a few other bankers trying for themselves to make easier money. But of course, the cover-up, they say, it's going to be saving just so much money for the industry, so you don't have to record it in the county, and it's easier for us to trace all the documents. So they create the MERS. And all it did, it's pretty much electronic organization which tracks the mortgages.
Okay.
And now the mortgages are actually...
Slow down just for a minute. MERS stands for what again?
Mortgage Electronic Registration System.
Okay.
Okay. So now mortgages, what you have to understand. Mortgage consists of two most important papers. It's mortgage and a note. Mortgage are supported by the note. If there is no note, there is no mortgage. If you separate them both, They cannot survive. Note can survive without the mortgage.
Okay.
But mortgage cannot survive without the note.
Okay, break that down for us. What is a note and what is a mortgage?
Okay, the note is the promise to pay. So when the bank, pretty much let's go back into the very moment how you bought the house. And I'm pretty sure it's very, very basic through the whole country. So let's say I want to buy a house. And before I can buy a house, people usually
I give you $1 for the house.
No, you can't do it.
Can't do that.
It's not the same way. No, you never had cash.
Okay.
Through the transaction, you went and got the mortgage, so you got some kind of note.
That's all.
So there was no there was no cash.
You won't take my cash.
No, nope, can't take it.
Okay, so that's
now
the difference. There's no cash involved.
No, that's worse.
Wait. Why is it? That's why I want you to explain that there's no cash involved.
There was just a book entries. That's all there is. It's a
word.
No
keyword. No money, no real stuff.
No, not at all.
Okay, now we can go on.
So now,
do you all understand what he's saying?
Yes.
So now, once you get to the, let's say, realtor, and she says she's going to show you a house, she's usually tell you got to go to the banker and get a pre-qualified if you'll be able to get the loan.
Right.
So you go and get a pre-qualified. They ask you names and all the information you had and everything, so they can collect on everything later on. And then you get to the time of the closing. So when you come to the closing, and you also got to remember, guys, you have to really remember everything what's happened before the closing. If the mortgage person who promised you certain things, but then when you got to the closing papers, it was totally different, but because they just made you uncomfortable, if you don't want to sign it, don't sign it, and you had to sign those papers, it's called under duress. You wasn't supposed to sign it. They changed it, and they were supposed to have the full disclosure and on the HUD 1 statement. And if there is a difference, there is a fraud, and you can void the whole transaction, but you gotta start remembering everything. So now you come to the closing, and the closer comes to you with a bunch of papers and saying you gotta sign all these things. And they usually say, "Oh, you're gonna sign your life away." They don't really explain it to you. In so many years, and I bought over 100 properties, and in none of the times anybody ever explained to me what's really was going on, what I was signing. They just sign here. This is the rider. This is the. I don't even know what the rider was. So now they give you a stack of papers and you start signing them. And in reality, the two major papers which you signed, one of them called mortgage, and the other one was promissory note. So then all of a sudden the closer said, "Hold on, I have to go and fax it to the bank to make sure what they receive, what's already signed all the bankers, so they can release the funds." Okay. So they go and fax it, then she comes back and she said, "Oh, it's all good now. We already faxed it, so you all set. Now you're going to get your keys." Mm-hmm. So the actual person never gave no money to the owners, okay? The title office issued them a third-party check. It was all check transaction. There was no cash at all. So now let's go and dissect the whole thing what just happened. When the bank receives the fax from you, from the title office, there was a signature on it, immediately they deposit on their books as they received 100% of whatever on that piece of paper it says. So let's say it's $100,000. They're gonna say, "Oh, sweet, you just gave me $100,000. Man, okay, I'll deposit on my books. Okay, you want, and we gotta give them $100,000. Okay." So really, bank never even gave you no penny. They never gave their own money. They just create the financial patents, and that's what you gotta tell all your lawyers. Everybody's person. You have to research what is the financial patents. That's where the fraud is. In financial, what is the financial? It's like I'm going to patent the way I'm going to create the money, but you can't do it.
Boy, you.
Well, that's all. It will. Just keep it. So now,
more than I do.
So now, at that moment, when they create the money, okay, now from that moment, you pretty much going to be start receiving the bills. Okay, but no, they want to be more greedy. They go and sell that note right away. And it could be, let's say, U.S. Bank was the mortgage company was trying to get you a loan through U.S. Bank. So first there was document says on the U.S. Bank, and then all of a sudden you're receiving the notices from the U.S. Bank servicing agent. All they do just change the same logos, but put in different things, and you're thinking it's the same one, but it's a different corporation. totally different entities, but we just don't pay attention. We've never been educated. The most lawyers and attorneys I talk to, they're not being educated about it. And it's a shock for them once they learn it. Oh my goodness, they are very zealous. And those bankers, watch out, we are coming after you, big time. And so what's happened, they just create the funds. Then they got so greedy because the MERS was established in all 50 states, and the California laws allows you to have multiple notes, mortgages on the note. Those suckers start making certified copies of the note and sell it to different hedge funds, to different pension plans. That's why the whole economy got broke, because of that fake, bubbly paperwork, not paperwork, electronic transactions happen, never been backed up by the real paperwork. This was going on since '95. I have my really good friend, CIA agent, who I'm not going to release his name or anything. So he explained to me like this. He was working with the Greenspan at that time, and right before 2001. The issue came up about MERS not having the actual documents to prove what their book entries are sufficient. And all of a sudden, Greenspan was trying to hush it down and offered, $82 billion to a person just to shut up. And he wouldn't. Okay, so that's a big deal. So, and then all of a sudden, a few months later, they're just trying to hush it up, and 9/11 happens. And what did the Lehman Brothers was dealing with? Mortgage-backed securities. And all of a sudden, all the evidence is destroyed. And then why did the Building 7 went down? It was Enron evidences and CIA evidence. So there was a lot of stuff. Then Giuliani shows up on the news on the September 10th of 2001 and saying, $2.3 trillion from Pentagon just missing. We don't know where it goes, where it went. $2.3 trillion. And then all of a sudden, the next day, you heard but the plane went into the Pentagon, but you never seen the plane, did you? No. Did anybody saw a plane hitting Pentagon?
No.
It was a direct missile attack. And the FBI only released 5 frames from 38 different cameras. All you saw is 5 frames of ball of fire. That's it. So there is now you start, okay? So this whole thing not just being sold to the United States. This fraud was contributed to the whole world. I mean, the governments, Japan, China, everybody was buying treasuries, not realizing what the back papers was just toxic. That's why you come up with this, what the governments came up with a new terminology of toxic acid, toxic titles. Right. That's all related to the MERS scandal. You have to research it. Look on the bottom right now. I give you, websites where you can actually go and do your own due diligence research. So then it start progressing, and more people start getting educated about it. Once they couldn't call, that CIA agents was also exposed twice to anthrax. They tried to kill it. They shut up the house, and by the God's grace, not even one bullet entered into the room, which was just a drywall room, but the whole house was just in holes. And the person was in the room, not affected. God intervention, big time. Okay. So at that time, I was, of course, working my way, just trying to understand what the mortgage company really did to me. Because They kind of taught me how to go and get the mortgages and everything else without me even speaking English. But then I started realizing, they were just prepping so they can make more money. The biggest question mark came up in my mind when I started realizing what the bankers, the mortgage brokers, makes money on the back. Mm-hmm. Like, you get money on the back. So, okay, if it would be like this, Charles give me $10, and you the mortgage broker, okay, all of a sudden you're going to charge me $1 to get that $10 from him. But then you're also not going to disclose it to me, which you're going to get another $5 from him for loaning me $10. Then I'm start doing the math, and I'm saying, man, $5,000 here closing. There's another $5,000 on the back. $10,000 went on the $50,000 loan. How did they make up all the money? Where did the money all came from? Until I realized there was no money to begin with. It was just a financial patents. And every single financial patents which I'm talking about was recorded at the time of the terrorist attack.
Is that right?
9/11, the Indian bombing. I mean, all along. I can post it later on if I